Have you been paying attention to the news lately? In the state of Texas, specifically the city of Houston, they had extreme risings in cases of syphilis. And there are reports globally, not just in the United States of America, but around the world, where the organization, the World Health Organization, which is also called WHO, has reported high rises in different sexually transmitted infections, which they call STIs, or they used to refer to them as sexually transmitted diseases, or STDs. And they still do refer to either or. However, they changed the verbiage STD to STI because some of the infections are able to receive treatment and they're curable. But because there are some infections that are transmitted sexually that are not curable, they still refer to them as STDs. And I wanted to talk about this here today because there's not enough people who are discussing the seriousness of sexually transmitted infections and sexually transmitted diseases. I remember there were advertisements all the time about it. And there were people who would really, even discuss in their music about quote unquote safe sex. This happened like in the 90s, like in the 1990s and early 2000s. They had different genre of music artists which promoted safe sex. They had commercials. It was just very huge on public awareness. But that has died down quite a bit. And the reasoning for that, I suppose, is we're now in this period of social media. Because at that time, there wasn't social media where you could get on the internet. I mean, the internet was around I would say the internet really started to make an impact around 2010 and after. But before 2010, it wasn't really, social media platforms. And it's really unfortunate because now that we have social media and there's so many people who are online, and by the click of your mouse, or you just have a smartphone, any type of technological device, you're able to log in online and be on social media. And you would think there would be more advertisement about protecting yourself and keeping people informed about STDs and STIs. And I wanted to discuss with you today about some underlying reasons why so many people are becoming infected. And so the World Health Organization, WHO, they just released an article in April of 2024 stating that the rise in sexually transmitted infections from the year of 2000 to 2022 rose to over more than 1 million cases reported. That's astronomical. And you know, it's now 2024, so they're in the process of gathering statistics now about these different sexually transmitted infections and sexually transmitted diseases that are being reported, because people who become infected, they may go to the clinic, they may go to the hospital, they may go to their primary doctor, and they have the medical professionals have to keep reports of these cases on file, because it's a part of healthcare, and it's public information for you to learn about the statistics. Now, that doesn't mean that they reveal the person's name or any type of information that will identify them. Well, no, that's confidential. But the numbers are for public information. And you really won't know about it unless you go out and seek for it yourself. Like, I took it upon myself to go and seek and read about reports about what's going on in the world, what's going on within my country, my state, regarding sexually transmitted infections and sexually transmitted diseases. And you won't know unless you go and research it for yourself. But it's extremely alarming. The cases are rising. And the World Health Organization has stated that there is a huge concern about how many people are becoming infected. And as I was saying, I wanted to discuss here, what are the underlying reasons why people are becoming infected at alarming rates now? What's going on? So something that stood out to me with the WHO statistic, they said that pretty much after the year 2000, and we know what happened in the year 2000, everybody was on shutdown. Everybody was on lockdown. And there were a lot of people who were at home. There are a lot of people who are out of work. And it's so ironic, a lot of people were concerned about their health at this time because of the scare of the pen. So I'm just saying the pen, so you can kind of read in between the lines. And the irony of it is, everybody was ordered to be under curfew or be on lockdown. A lot of people couldn't work because people were afraid of getting sick. But during this time, people were becoming infected with sexually transmitted infections and sexually transmitted diseases. So the obvious answer would be, well, people were stuck at home. Maybe they lost their jobs. So people were just sleeping around, literally sleeping around during the pan. I think that is very insane, because people were worried about getting sick during this time. But for some reason, people weren't concerned about sleeping around. And I just want to say that the World Health Organization, WHO, they said that the age range for the people who are getting infected is between the ages of 15 to 49 years of age. Ages 15 to 49 years of age. That lets me know these are young people. And you might say, oh, well, 30 and 40. Well, that's real. They're adults, but that's still very young. This age range, they all are under the age of 50 years old. These are young people. And there's teenagers who are getting infected. Just think about that. Ages 15 to 49 years of age. This is the prime of your life. This is when you are in the greatest health of your life, but you're getting infected. And why are people being so careless and irresponsible with their sexual health? And it's really devastating because, like I say, it's not being advertised much. You don't hear much about it. Not even, like I say, in the entertainment media, you don't hear about people advising for you to protect yourself. They're not advising you of the different STDs and the STIs. And these younger generations, they may not even be in school learning about classes about sex ed, because it's not in every state. And there's a lot of parents who are opposed to their children learning these type of classes, or taking these type of classes rather. But it starts at home. It starts at home for the parents to teach their children. And unfortunately, many parents are not taking the time to teach their children about STIs and STDs. And let's be real, a lot of the parents are not taking the time to do so because they're scared. They're afraid to talk to their children about sex. Why? Why are they so afraid? Because they still want to see their children as children. And some parents make the mistake of thinking that their children are not interested in having sexual relations. And then you have some parents who think their children are very innocent. But here's another real issue with parents not talking to their children about protecting themselves and abstaining and being celibate. A lot of these parents, if they talk to their children about it, it'll make them more responsible with their own sexual health. Because keep in mind, this age range of the high statistics of people becoming infected is ages 15 to 49. There's a lot of parents that fall into that age range, which means they're not taking care of their own sexual health. They're being promiscuous. They're sleeping with people who they don't really know. Some of them are married and they're heavily involved in adultery. if you are not taking responsibility of your own actions, then you're not going to warn or protect your own children as a parent, because it'll convict you that you are not living right. And that's very sad, and that's devastating. And that needs to stop. That needs to change. More parents need to be speaking to their children and stop being afraid to discuss the birds and the bees. And honestly, your children, your teenagers need to hear from their parents. You don't need to wait for them to learn from their friends or learn about it in the street or learn about it in school, because you don't know what they're hearing. And you don't even know if they are processing and understanding the information accurately and how to apply it in their own lives. You have to learn how to be responsible with your own body. You have to learn about the human body and human nature. And you have to learn about sexual nature, because we are sexual creatures. And if we are not being taught properly, then we're either going to go out there and figure it out on our own and bump our heads and hopefully don't come out with one of these sexually transmitted infections or sexually transmitted diseases. But hoping is not going to save you. And the proof is already out there. The statistics are out there screaming at you, saying what you're doing is not working. But something else is going on, and it's very dangerous. And what that is people are becoming infected in high numbers, and they're angry about it. They're so angry about it that they want revenge. And I've titled my video, "They're mad about being infected, but want you to suffer." My name is Giselle Wallace. I am a life coach, and I pretty much stay informed about current events, and I like to stay aware about the health statistics, because being a life coach, I am going to coach people about real life issues. And the truth is, people are out there and they are having sex. You can pretend like it's not happening, or you can say to yourself, well, I'm not active, so I really don't know or care what everybody else is doing. But we're all affected, not infected, affected, AFFECTED, by what happens in our surroundings. And if you don't agree, well, do you have a mother, a brother, a sister, a father, a cousin, an uncle, a friend who is sexually active? And if you said yes, do you know that they can experience being exposed to contracting a sexually transmitted disease that is not curable, or even a sexually transmitted infection that may be curable, but there are actual statistics. They just released a statistic saying that antibiotics for the STI gonorrhea are failing, meaning that there's people who are becoming infected with gonorrhea and they're going to get antibiotics to treat it. But because the strands of the gonorrhea that are out now, they're so strong that the antibiotics are not able to actually cure or basically treat the infection. So even with the STIs that are curable through medications, the strands now are becoming more stronger to where you cannot even take antibiotics to where it cures it. So in other words, we don't know what type of STIs are changing to become more stronger, and they're affecting your health more severely. So you can't just say, oh, well, I'll just go to the doctor and get a shot, or I'll take a pill and everything's going to be okay. Because for one, if you become exposed and infected, you don't know how it's going to affect your body, because everybody's body is different and everybody's body responds differently to medications. And why do you want to be exposed to the infection where it's already in your system, where you have it in your system, which makes you more vulnerable to contract it again? And it makes you someone who is able to spread the infection to others. So you may know someone, even though you're not out there and you're not sexually active, maybe you have not been infected, but someone you know can be infected because they're out there and they're sexually active. And if this is someone who you care about and you love, this should be something you should be concerned about as well, because you can help save their life by talking to them. Matter of fact, it would be good if you speak to them, because they would know, oh, well, you're not out here sexually active. You're informed about the different STDs and the STIs. And so they may learn from you by you just talking to them. But if you're just, sitting off to yourself in your own world and acting like, well, none of these people are my business. We all have a business and a responsibility to take care of ourselves, but also to help other people. If it's just releasing information. I remember back in the day, and even I've done this, I would pass out pamphlets to educate people about STDs and STIs. Just that small gesture can change somebody's life. And it's important for us to understand that people are not who you think they are. And what I mean by that is, you can look at a person externally and say, well, this person is clean cut. They look good. They smell nice. And this person is interested in me. They're attracted to me. And I'm interested in this person as well. So I'm going to give them a chance. And did you know that there is a an infection that you can get just from kissing a person. The name of it is actually it is a form of an STI, and it actually will cause you to get an infection in the mouth just from kissing someone due to the exchange of saliva. And some of the symptoms are dry mouth, bumps on the tongue or in the fatty tissue of the mouth, and bad odor, bad breath. But yes, just from kissing. And there's a lot of people who just kiss people and they say, well, we're not doing anything else, we're just kissing. But you can become infected just by kissing someone. But you also can be infected with other STIs by kissing people. And if you do make the decision to sleep with someone, do understand that you are literally risking your life. Because even if you feel like you can trust a person, you do not know who that person is sleeping with when they're not around you. And whatever they pick up, contract from the other people they sleep with, they bring it to you. And that's how STDs and STIs spread. And people are not going to really be honest with you. And the reason why is because they're selfish enough to lie to you so that they can sleep with you. They do not want to admit to themselves that they have an STD or an STI. And these different STDs and STIs, they range from syphilis, gonorrhea, herpes, HIV, AIDS, and there's more. And don't forget about monkeypox, because they stopped talking about that real quick. You remember monkeypox? And all of a sudden everything went silent. That's why I say, don't act like, oh, well, it's gone. It's not there anymore. Just because you're not hearing about it in the news, just because you don't hear anybody talk about it, does not mean that it's gone. And people get so comfortable and they feel like they're invincible. And they go out there and they just give their bodies away to just whoever they want. I had posted on my social media, I said, people think that just because they have genitalia, that they can do whatever they want with their bodies. But there is a high price for using your body in sexual immorality. And I know there's people who don't believe in fornication, which is having sexual relationships to people you are not married to. There are consequences for your sexual behavior, even if you don't believe there are. And then, yes, sexually transmitted diseases are very real. But even deeper than that, there's another form of STD, and it's called spiritually transmitted diseases. When you have sexual relations with another human being, there is a spiritual transformation, and you become spiritually tied to another soul. And what is also very dangerous is that you can actually transfer evil spirits. You take on evil spirits through sexual encounters with people. And that is a major reason why, spiritually, you want to protect your body, but also protect your soul. And you want to be married if you're going to have the freedom to be involved with someone sexually. And then I know there's people who say they don't believe in marriage, or they'll say, well, even married people still get STDs and STIs. You're absolutely correct, they do. And there's an even severe punishment for people who are married and they're out there cheating on their spouse and bringing back STDs and STIs to their spouse. An even greater punishment when you know the truth. But there's people who are married and they're sleeping around. And they're sleeping around with people who are mad about being infected. And they will intentionally and knowingly infect you. And the reason why is because they feel like they don't have anything to lose. The world is falling apart. They're angry, they're upset, and they don't want to be alone in their misery. So it actually brings them a twisted, evil pleasure to expose you to their sexually transmitted infections and sexually transmitted diseases. And they're waiting to get that call from you, to hear the panic in your voice, to hear the fear in your voice, and to even know that you're upset and that you're angry and that you're hurt and that you're crying. They get a kick out of it. They get a thrill out of it. Because they want to see you suffer. Because these people, they do not care about you. Because they don't even care about themselves. I remember, wow, this was a long time ago. This is still when they talked about incurable STDs such as HIV, AID. And it was a news story. I think it went national. And it was warning people to be careful if you go to movie theaters, because there were people who were exposed to the incurable STD, and they were leaving infected needles in seats at the movie theaters. And there were some cases reported where people were injured by these needles and they were tested later and they were infected. Now that is a very bizarre case, but it happened, and it just shows you proof that there are people who are infected and they're mad about being infected, but they want you to suffer. And nobody made them go out there and give their bodies away to people who they barely even knew, or even if they knew the person. You're still responsible for your own sexual health. Nobody knows what's going to happen once you lay down and sleep with someone. You can come up with something that you can't ever get rid of. It's a risk. It's a gamble. And there's people who gamble all the time. They play Russian roulette with their life. And they say, well, I didn't get nothing. I'll do it again. And you do it again and you do it again. And this time, you get infected. And you can't blame anyone but yourself. But they don't want to take the blame. Instead, they want to take revenge. And they'll go out and they'll dress up nice, smell nice, they'll wine you and dine you, and next thing you know, you're in the sheets together. They're not just doing this to receive pleasure from your body. They're doing it to harm you, to infect you on purpose. And yes, in some cases, people can take legal action, but how many people have the resources, the time, the money, or even the proof to confirm who infected them? Because there are people who are involved with more than one person sexually. And then there's people who may only slept with that one person, but they never see that person again. They can't find them. They don't know their first, middle, and last name. So you're on your own. You're now infected. Nobody can help you. The scriptures teach us the devil said he came to steal, kill, and destroy. And one of his vices that he uses is the lust of the flesh. And it has destroyed so many lives. Don't allow your flesh, your urges, your cravings to overtake you to the point where you are no longer able to live a healthy, productive life. You have the choice today to protect yourself. And I am not an advocate of promoting safe sex. I never have been. I do not support that type of propaganda, because I don't believe in safe sex. The safest sex you'll have is being celibate. Until the Most High God gives you your spouse, you are absolutely safe being single. I actually highly recommend that you be single. And being single does not mean that you go out and sleep with whoever you want to because you're not married. Being single means that you are working on yourself. You're doing whatever you have to do now to improve your life, and you're not involved with anyone sexually. That's true singlehood. And you will be rewarded. God knows that you want to be married, but He's not going to give you that spouse until you're married to Him. You got to be married to the Lord first. And when He sees that you are faithful, then He'll release your spouse to you, and you are in a covenant that God has ordained in marriage. And you don't have to fear about getting infected. And then you say, well, what if my spouse cheats on me? Well, if that person that God sends you cheats on you, as I mentioned earlier, they are going to face a severe punishment because they know the truth. But more than likely, this person has been faithful in their singlehood. They've practiced being celibate. They've developed themselves while being single. They are connected to the Most High God. So when they meet you, they're ready for marriage. They're going to be committed to you. They're going to be faithful to you. So you don't have to have those fears. Most of these people who are married and out there cheating, and people who are single but not really single because they're out there sleeping around, these people, they're deceived. And go read the statistics. You can read about them. But you don't have to be a statistic. Thank you for listening. I hope this message resonates with you. My name is Giselle Wallace. Be safe.